The silence of deep space was broken only by the steady hum of the Galactic Council's most advanced ships. Commander Zephyr 9 sat in his command chair aboard the flagship Radiant Dawn, watching the star charts flicker across multiple screens. His blue-scaled hands moved over the control panel with practiced ease as he guided his fleet through their 1,000th routine patrol along the outer rim. This region of space was known for its emptiness. Nothing interesting had happened here in over 300 years. The Catharan commander had been stationed on this border patrol for 2 decades, and the most exciting thing he'd encountered was a drifting asteroid that turned out to contain some rare crystals. Today felt like any other day until his sensor officer, a young Vorthon named Kix, suddenly straightened at his station. "Commander, I'm picking up something strange," Kix called out, his tentacles dancing over the controls. "There's an object approaching from Grid Sector 7. Zephyr 9's golden eyes focused on the main display as data streams began flowing across the screen. The readings made no sense. Energy signatures that looked like something from a museum. Propulsion systems that seemed to work by burning chemical fuel and throwing mass backward, which every civilized species had abandoned millennia ago. The hull showed readings consistent with actual metal plates welded together, not the sophisticated energy barriers used by modern ships. "Is it debris?" asked Lieutenant Vera, the tactical officer, her crystalline form shimmering as she spoke. "Maybe wreckage from an ancient crash." The commander rubbed his scaled chin thoughtfully. "No, it's moving with purpose. Speed is consistent, course is steady. Someone's piloting that thing." He paused, studying the readings. "Contact the science division. I want them to analyze these energy patterns. I've never seen anything like this before." As minutes passed, the mysterious object grew larger on their sensors. Its size was more impressive than its technology, measuring nearly 2 kilometers in length. The ship had a rough, brutal appearance when viewed through their enhanced imaging systems. Where Galactic Council vessels were smooth and elegant, this craft was angular and harsh, covered in what looked like armor plating bolted onto a framework of metal beams. "Commander," Kix announced, his voice carrying a note of confusion, "I'm getting more detailed scans now. This ship is carrying weapons. Lots of them." The entire bridge crew turned to look at their commander. In the current era of galactic peace, weapons were mostly ceremonial or used for asteroid mining. No civilized species had engaged in warfare for over 1,000 years. The idea of a ship built primarily for fighting was as foreign to them as building a vehicle out of wood would be to a modern human. "What kind of weapons?" Zephyr 9 asked, though he suspected the answer would be as primitive as everything else about this vessel. "That's the odd part, sir. They appear to be kinetic projectile systems, and explosive warheads and energy weapons that seem to burn matter rather than disintegrate it. The computer is having trouble categorizing most of these systems. They don't match anything in our databases." The commander stood up from his chair, his tall figure casting shadows across the bridge. His people, the Catharans, were known throughout the galaxy for their cautious nature and analytical minds. Every instinct told him to maintain distance and gather more information, but protocol demanded they investigate any unknown vessel in their territory. "Sir," called out the communications officer, "should we attempt contact?" Before Zephyr 9 could answer, their long-range scanners lit up with new information. The strange vessel had just performed a maneuver that shouldn't have been possible with such crude technology. It had changed course by 90 degrees in less than 30 seconds, something that should have turned its crew into paste with the G-forces involved. "How did they do that?" Vera asked, her crystalline form flickering with amazement. "The readings show they pulled at least 40 Gs during that turn. No known species can survive those forces without specialized equipment." The commander's mind raced. This ship defied everything he knew about physics, biology, and technology. It moved like a predator, carried weapons like a warrior from ancient times, and had just shown capabilities that seemed impossible. Yet here it was, approaching their patrol route with steady determination. "All ships maintain formation, but prepare for anything," Zephyr 9 ordered. "We're about to make first contact with something completely new to our galaxy, and based on what we're seeing, I have a feeling they're nothing like us." As the mysterious vessel continued its approach, every crew member on every ship in the GE patrol fleet found themselves holding their breath. None of them realized they were about to meet humanity for the first time, and nothing in their peaceful, civilized experience had prepared them for what was coming. The Bridge of the Radiant. Dawn buzzed with nervous energy as the alien vessel closed the distance between them. Commander Zephyr 9 moved to his communication station, his movements careful and deliberate. After thousands of years of galactic peace, first contact procedures had become more theoretical than practical. Most new species encountered were simply primitive versions of already known civilizations. Begin standard greeting protocols, the commander ordered. Full-spectrum broadcast all known languages. The communications array hummed to life, sending out a carefully crafted message that had been perfected over centuries. It contained mathematical concepts, basic greetings, and peaceful intentions expressed in every conceivable way. The message went out in the languages of all major species, minor dialects, even extinct tongues from museum archives. Over 10,000 different ways to say hello and we come in peace flooded the space between the ships. Minutes passed. The strange vessel continued its steady approach, seemingly unaffected by the massive data stream being sent its way. Some crew members began to wonder if the aliens even understood the concept of communication. Then the response came. "Hello there." Two simple words in what the computer identified as a derivative of an ancient Earth dialect. The entire bridge crew stared at their screens in shock. After 10,000 languages and complex mathematical sequences, the aliens had responded with casual brevity that felt almost rude in its simplicity. "That's it?" asked Kix, his tentacles twitching with confusion. "We send them the work of our greatest linguists and philosophers, and they say, 'Hello there,' like they just met us at a market?" Commander Zephyr 9 studied the message analysis flowing across his screen. The voice pattern suggested a species that communicated through sound vibrations in air, similar to several known races. But something about the tone felt different. There was a casualness, almost a friendliness that didn't match the intimidating appearance of their vessel. "Fascinating," Lieutenant Vera observed, her crystalline form pulsing thoughtfully. "Their linguistic response suggests minimal complexity, yet they clearly understood our transmission format and responded through the correct channels. This indicates technological capability beyond their apparent development level." The commander nodded. Now came the next step in first contact protocol. "Open channel for detailed communication," he instructed. "Request identification and purpose." The message went out with standard diplomatic phrasing. "Unknown vessel. This is Commander Zephyr 9 of the Galactic Council Border Patrol Fleet. We greet you in peace and friendship. Please identify your species, origin, and purpose in this sector of space." The reply came faster this time, and it was nothing like anything in the first contact manual. "This is the Earth vessel Leviathan." "Who's asking?" The bridge fell silent. The casual tone was even more pronounced now, and there was something almost challenging in the question. It wasn't hostile exactly, but it certainly wasn't diplomatic either. It sounded like someone answering their door and asking who was bothering them. "Did they just ask who we are?" Kix whispered, his eyes wide with disbelief. "We identified ourselves clearly." "Perhaps their translation system is faulty," suggested the science officer. "Or they don't understand protocol." But Commander Zephyr 9 was beginning to suspect something else entirely. The more he observed this Earth vessel Leviathan, the more he realized their assumptions might be completely wrong. The size of the ship, easily dwarfing most Council vessels, didn't match its crude appearance. The weapons systems, primitive but numerous, suggested a species that took conflict seriously. And now this communication style, direct and informal, hinted at a culture unlike anything in their experience. "Respond diplomatically," he ordered. "Full identification, but keep it simple. Earth vessel Leviathan. I am Commander Zephyr 9 of the Catharan species, currently assigned to the Galactic Council's 47th Border Patrol Fleet. We encountered your vessel entering our patrol sector and are conducting standard first contact procedures, as required by galactic law. The wait for response seemed endless. When it came, it changed everything they thought they knew about first contact. Never heard of the Galactic Council. Earth human vessel Leviathan, Captain Rodriguez commanding. We're just passing through, heading to those pretty spiral galaxies up ahead. No trouble intended. The casual mention of traveling to other galaxies, as if it were a weekend trip, sent shockwaves through the bridge crew. But it was the word human that truly captured their attention. According to their databases, humans weren't supposed to exist. Earth was listed as a pre-space civilization, barely out of their own star system. Sir, Vera's voice was tight with concern. If these are the humans from Earth, our records indicate they should barely have primitive spacecraft. How are they here in a ship this size talking about traveling to other galaxies? Commander Zephyr 9 felt a chill run through his scales. Either their databases were completely wrong, or they were dealing with something far more complex than a simple first contact situation. Captain Rodriguez leaned back in her command chair, studying the multiple screens showing the alien fleet surrounding them. The bridge of the Leviathan was nothing like the elegant council ships. Exposed pipes ran along the walls, instrument panels flickered with basic LED displays, and the air carried the constant hum of working machinery. 5 officers surrounded her, each focused on their stations, while the sound of boots on metal decking echoed throughout the ship. "They seem friendly enough," Rodriguez muttered, reading the latest diplomatic message. "Offering to escort us to their nearest diplomatic station." Lieutenant Chen, her second-in-command, looked up from the tactical display. "Ma'am, we have no idea what a diplomatic station even means to these people. For all we know, it could be a prison." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. After 3 years of deep space exploration, she'd learned to be cautious about alien customs. The first rule of exploration was never assume intentions based on your own culture. On the Council flagship, Commander Zephyr 9 was growing concerned by the humans' lack of response. Standard procedure required providing escort for any vessel entering Council space, especially one that wasn't registered in their databases. But these humans seemed remarkably reluctant to follow basic protocols. "Captain Rodriguez," he transmitted. "Again, we strongly suggest accepting our escort. Navigation through this sector requires current knowledge of drift patterns and hazardous zones. Our diplomatic station can provide you with updated star charts and proper identification documents for travel within Council space." The response came after a long pause, and it wasn't what he expected. "Thanks for the offer, Commander, but we'll pass. We have our own navigation systems, and we're just passing through. Request permission to continue on our current heading." The bridge crew exchanged glances. No one simply refused Council escort. It just wasn't done. Even merchant vessels appreciated the protection, and military ships always followed proper procedures. "They're refusing escort?" Kix asked, his tentacles waving in confusion. "Don't they understand this is for their own safety?" Commander Zephyr 9 felt his patience beginning to thin. These humans were either incredibly naive or deliberately ignoring established protocols. Either way, he couldn't simply let them wander through Council space without proper oversight. "Move to protective formation," he ordered. "Full escort pattern. Once they see we're serious about their safety, they'll comply." The Council ships began their graceful dance, moving with practiced precision to surround the Leviathan in a traditional escort formation. Each vessel found its position with elegant ease, energy shields shimmering as they activated their protective barriers. On the Leviathan's bridge, alarm bells started ringing. "Captain," Chen called out, his voice tight with tension. "Multiple vessels moving to surround us. They're activating what looks like shields or some kind of energy barriers." Rodriguez shot to her feet, her hand instinctively moving to the ship's intercom. "All hands, battle stations, engineering. Bring all systems online, weapons. Prepare to track targets, but do not lock on unless ordered." The transformation of the Leviathan was immediate and dramatic. Throughout the ship, blast doors sealed compartments. Weapon systems that had been quietly monitoring now hummed to life, their targeting sensors sweeping across the Council formation. Gun turrets rotated on their mounts, missile bays opened, and energy weapons powered up with an ominous whine. "Captain," called the weapons officer, "I'm tracking 12 vessels in formation around us. They're not targeting us directly, but they're in position to do serious damage if they wanted to." Rodriguez gritted her teeth. This was exactly the kind of situation that could spiral out of control in seconds. Open a channel. Let's see if we can talk our way out of this. Meanwhile, on the radiant dawn, chaos erupted as sensor readings flooded the bridge. "Commander," Vera's crystalline form blazed with alarm. "The human vessel just activated numerous weapon systems. I'm counting over 300 individual targeting sensors. They're not locked onto us yet, but they're tracking our every movement." Zephyr 9 stared at the displays in disbelief. The sheer number of weapons on the human ship was staggering. Each of his vessels carried maybe 12 defensive systems. This one ship had enough firepower to level a small moon. "Sir," Kix's voice cracked with nervousness, "they're powering up everything. Energy weapons, kinetic systems, what appears to be explosive projectile launchers. I've never seen so many weapons on a single vessel." The communication channel crackled to life with Captain Rodriguez's voice, and her tone had changed completely from their earlier casual conversation. "Council vessels, this is Captain Rodriguez. You've surrounded my ship and raised what we interpret as defensive barriers. We're taking this as a potentially hostile act. State your intentions immediately." The words hit Commander Zephyr 9 like a physical blow. Hostile act? They were providing standard protection. "Captain Rodriguez," he responded quickly, "there seems to be a misunderstanding. We are providing escort formation for your protection, not threatening you." "Commander, from our perspective, 12 armed vessels surrounding us looks like preparation for an attack. We're not looking for trouble, but we're ready to defend ourselves. I suggest you back off to a safe distance so we can discuss this like civilized beings." The bridge of the Radiant Dawn fell silent. The humans had just told the Galactic Council's premier border patrol fleet to back away. More shocking still, they'd done it while casually mentioning their readiness to fight 12 advanced warships simultaneously. As tension crackled through space between the two forces, both sides began to realize they were dealing with something far more complicated than a simple first contact situation. The Council had never encountered a species that treated their protective escort as an act of aggression, while the humans had never met aliens who thought surrounding a vessel with armed ships was a friendly gesture. Neither side fully understood just how differently they viewed the universe, and that misunderstanding was about to change everything. The moment of truth came when a junior officer aboard the Council ship Serene Grace accidentally triggered a weapons targeting scan. It was a simple mistake, a finger slipping on a control panel during a moment of extreme tension. But to the humans aboard the Leviathan, it looked like the aliens were preparing to fire. Captain Rodriguez didn't hesitate. "All weapons, engage defensive pattern Alpha. Do not let them get the first shot." What happened next changed everything. The Galactic Council thought they knew about warfare. The Leviathan erupted in controlled violence. Dozens of kinetic weapon systems spat metal projectiles at incredible speeds, while energy weapons lanced out in precisely coordinated patterns. The ship moved like a living thing, rolling and twisting to present its armored sides while keeping its guns on target. Every shot was calculated, every movement planned. Commander Zephyr 9 watched in horror as his elegant fleet was torn apart. The energy shields that protected Council ships, designed to deflect exotic particles and energy beams, proved useless against solid chunks of metal moving at significant fractions of light speed. The projectiles punched through shields as if they weren't there, slamming into hull plating with devastating force. "Impossible!" Lieutenant Vera gasped as her crystalline form flickered with shock. "The kinetic weapons are completely bypassing our shields. They're not designed to stop solid matter moving at these velocities." The Serene Grace took a direct hit from what humans called a railgun. The projectile, no bigger than a telephone pole, carried so much kinetic energy that it completely penetrated the ship from bow to stern. Secondary explosions rippled through the vessel as the crew fought to contain the damage. "Sir, the Harmony Rising is reporting critical systems failure," Kix announced, his tentacles trembling as he worked his controls. "They took multiple hits to their propulsion systems. They're dead in space." But it wasn't just the weapons that shocked the Council forces, it was how the humans used them. The Leviathan moved with a purpose that spoke of endless practice and hard-earned experience. Every maneuver had meaning, every shot was placed with deadly precision. Captain Rodriguez stood on her bridge, calmly calling out orders. "Helm, Come. About 20 degrees starboard. Weapons target the trailing ship's propulsion systems. I want it disabled, not destroyed. Engineering, reroute power from secondary systems to forward shields. The humans fought like they'd been doing it their whole lives, and in many ways they had. While the Council species had enjoyed millennia of peace, humanity had spent their entire history at war. Not always with others, sometimes with their own planet, but always fighting something. They're not fighting randomly, observed fleet tactician Nix aboard the flagship. Every move is part of a larger plan. Look how they're using their rotation to keep damaged sections away from our fire while bringing fresh weapons to bear. The second Council ship to fall was the Wise Current. It tried to use its superior speed to flank the Leviathan, but the humans had anticipated the move. As the ship came around, it ran directly into a wall of explosive projectiles that humans called missiles. The elegant vessel's shields glowed brilliantly for a moment before failing completely, and the hull beneath cracked open like an egg. "Signal retreat," Commander Zephyr 9 ordered, his voice filled with disbelief. "All ships disengage and withdraw to minimum safe distance." But even retreating proved difficult. The humans had positioned themselves perfectly, and every time a TIE Council ship tried to move away, weapons fire would force it back into the engagement zone. It wasn't until Captain Rodriguez's voice came over the communication channel that the torture stopped. "Cease fire. All weapons stand down." The silence that followed was deafening. In less than 10 minutes, 2 of the Council's most advanced ships were crippled, and the rest were barely functional. The human ship, meanwhile, showed only minor damage to its crude-looking armor plating. Commander Zephyr 9 stared at the tactical display, unable to comprehend what had just happened. His fleet, the best the Council had to offer, had been defeated not by superior technology, but by superior tactics and experience. "Captain Rodriguez," he transmitted, his voice shaky, We yield. Please state your terms." The response came with what sounded almost like amusement. "Terms? Commander, we don't want anything from you. We just wanted to pass through. You surrounded us, remember?" As Council ships limped away to lick their wounds, the humans simply resumed their course toward the edge of known space. They acted as if the encounter had been a minor inconvenience rather than the first military defeat the Council had suffered in over 1,000 years. "Sir," Kix whispered, "what do we tell headquarters?" Commander Zephyr 9 watched the Leviathan disappear into the distance, its crude hull scarred but unbowed. "The truth, I suppose, that we've just met a species that never forgot how to fight." The news traveled across the galaxy faster than any ship. Within hours of the encounter, every Council member world had received the impossible report. The 47th Border Patrol Fleet, equipped with the finest technology the galaxy had to offer, had been defeated by a single primitive vessel from a planet that shouldn't even have been capable of interstellar travel. On the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime, the Grand Chamber erupted in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species argued, shouted, and demanded explanations. High Admiral Karan, a 7-foot-tall being whose people had once ruled half the galaxy through military might, stood at the center of the storm. "Impossible," declared Ambassador Thane, whose crystalline form pulsed with indignation. "Our reports must be wrong. No primitive civilization could defeat our forces." "The sensor logs don't lie," Corran replied grimly. "I've reviewed every frame of combat data. These humans fought with skills we haven't seen in 1,000 years. They moved like predators, thought like warriors, and fought like their lives depended on it." The words hung heavy in the chamber. For most species present, warfare was ancient history, something their ancestors had abandoned long ago. Peace had reigned for so long that combat training had become ceremonial, weapons had become tools for mining and construction, and military. Academies taught theory rather than practice. Admiral Corran pulled up holographic displays showing the battle. "Look at how they coordinate their movements, every shot placed with purpose, every maneuver calculated for maximum effectiveness. They didn't just win through luck or superior firepower. They outthought us, outmaneuvered us, and outfought us." The chamber fell silent as they watched the Leviathan tear through their fleet. The human ship moved with deadly grace, its crude weapons proving devastatingly effective against shields designed to stop elegant energy beams, not chunks of metal traveling at incredible speeds. "What do we do?" asked Councillor Vex, her reptilian eyes wide with worry. "If one of their ships can do this to our best fleet, what happens if they decide we're enemies?" The question nobody wanted to face hung in the air. The Galactic Council had maintained peace for millennia, partly through the assumption that their technology was superior to any newcomers. Now they faced a species that could challenge them militarily while operating with supposedly primitive technology. Meanwhile, thousands of light years away, Captain Rodriguez finished her log entry aboard the Leviathan. The bridge had returned to its normal routine, with crew members performing maintenance checks and updating star charts. The battle seemed like a distant memory, just another obstacle overcome during their long journey. "Log entry 743, she dictated to the ship's computer. "Successfully completed first contact with local patrol fleet. Encountered some confusion regarding escort protocols, resulting in brief defensive engagement. No critical damage sustained. Continuing on planned course to Andromeda observation point." She paused, then added with a slight smile, "Note for future. Diplomatic encounters. Local species appear inexperienced with combat situations. Recommend patience when dealing with territorial disputes." Lieutenant Chen approached, carrying a data pad. "Captain, we've finished analyzing the alien technology. Their shields are incredibly sophisticated, but they seem designed more for show than effectiveness against kinetic weapons." Rodriguez nodded thoughtfully. "Interesting, it's like they've never had to defend against physical projectiles before. Everything was focused on energy weapons and exotic particles. Ma'am, do you think we'll see them again?" Before she could answer, the communication officer called out, "Captain, we're receiving long-range transmissions. Multiple sources, different languages, but the computer is starting to identify common mathematical patterns." Rodriguez raised an eyebrow. "Looks like word travels fast out here. Continue on course, but monitor those transmissions. I have a feeling we've stirred up more than we intended." Back on Nexus Prime, emergency sessions continued through the night. Military experts who hadn't seen real combat in centuries found themselves trying to understand tactics used by beings who had never known true peace. The humans' approach to warfare was alien to them in every sense. "We must establish formal contact," High Admiral Corrin declared, "not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. These humans have something we've lost, the knowledge of true conflict and survival." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in galactic history, a species would be invited to join the Council not for their wisdom or technology, but for their military capability and strategic thinking. As both sides prepared for future encounters, the galaxy itself seemed to hold its breath. The humans, with their battered ship and casual attitude toward combat, represented something the Council had forgotten existed. They were a reminder that peace was a luxury that required strength to maintain. The Council began the slow process of reforming their military doctrine, while Earth's deep space exploration fleets prepared for a universe that was far more complex than they had imagined. Both sides knew that this first meeting was just the beginning of a relationship that would reshape galactic civilization. In her final log entry of the day, Captain Rodriguez wrote, "Today we learned we're not alone in the universe. Tomorrow we learn what that really means. The galaxy would never be the same."